Hello and welcome back to the Fixing Football podcast. I'm here with Scott Naylor and Liam O'Meara, and I am Martin Naylor, and we are here to discuss the Premier League, which is about to kick off this weekend. Thank God actual football is back. Liam, you was back at some low level stuff this weekend. How was that?
I don't like low level stuff. Lower league football is, I think, a better terminology than low level stuff.
I didn't want to go with worse shit teams, but you go.
Okay, well, it's better than that, I agree. But yeah, Leyton Orient away, not Lincoln, as we established on previous podcasts, and a very good 2-1 win to kick us off. A place that is not easy to go to for most teams. We lost there last season, so a nice 2-1 win. Dion Charles got off on the score sheet, missed a sitter in the second half, to be fair, as well. And our new signings look very good. Another person who's featured quite a lot in our podcast, John McAtee, finally signed for Bolton.
It's definitely John McAtee.
Yes, and he is.
However, there is a James McAtee who does play professional football. I will just say that. I can't remember who he plays for, but
City. There's a McAtee influx of McAtees in the Footballer League. I've found out this season.
Well,
that's him. Yeah, he's at City.
They are brothers, so that does help. And
there we go then.
They also are from our hometown of Bolton, so that does help as well.
They're from Walkden, aren't they?
Yeah.
I don't fucking know anyone who lives in Bolton. Fair.
You know,
anyway,
on the podcast that you're speaking to now.
I do.
But anyway, yes,
no.
he is here and he is beautiful. We're going to win the league. I've changed your mind. It's coming home. Jay Matete as well in centre midfield. He's everything a centre midfielder should be. Winning the ball, striding forward, picking a pass. I'm very, very excited. We've made some very good signings.
I was going to say, since our last conversation, it seems like someone from within the Bolton hierarchy must have been listening, because gone on a bit of a spending spree.
They did talk about this idea of the knock-on effect, the Euro knock-on effect. They did talk about that, and that a lot of these transfers would happen later in the window, and I think that's kind of borne fruit, really. So, yeah, on to the next big games. We've got Tuesday night, which will be tomorrow at the time of recording. Mansfield in the Cup. Be interested to see what team we put out. I imagine we'll put out a relatively strong team. Keep getting the fitness in the legs, get the season up and running. And then on Sunday at 3:00 on Sky, which will be in the middle of Super Sunday, I suppose, but it is Bolton versus Wrexham as well at the whatever our stadium is called now, Tough Sheet Community Stadium. It is there. So Bolton versus Wrexham should be at least 25,000 then as well. So big game.
That'd be good. Well, there's still a Deadpool movie to promote, so you never know. They could pull out all the stops for for the Wrexham in town. Right. Thankfully, that's our Bolton update out the way. Before we get on to the Premier League, there's some other news this week that we haven't really touched on since the Euros, but Lee Carsley's been announced as the interim England manager for the upcoming Nations League matches. Scott, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a good move. It's kind of what I wanted to see happen. I preferred Lee Carsley over the other options that were on the table. And I think it's kind of the proven blueprint for international success over the last couple of years. You look at most of the successful managers at international level. They sort of go through the process. They go via the youth team, then they go to the men's senior, and that's typically how success is achieved at that level. So no, I think it's a wise move. I can't remember. You guys can remind me. I can't remember who the other big name was on the table. It's escaping me now. I'm not sure who chose him in favour. I think it was Potter, wasn't it?
It's got to be Potter. He's the only name linked who's out of a job, I think.
There was Tuchel as well. Tuchel was quite strongly, and I believe that the FA did approve that it can be a non-domestic manager, the next permanent appointment. That has to be approved at board level, and I believe that's happened. So,
yeah. Well, yeah, that was in the job application because it obviously has to go public, the application process, and that was there that it didn't have to be from the British Isles. So, I don't know. Is it a bit of a cop out? Does it show a bit of lack of preparedness from the FA that we've almost settled with an interim manager? I know it's the way Southgate came in, but I mean,
no, I think it shows the opposite, to be honest. I think they're showing a little bit of ambition with this. The the rumor is that the number one target is Pep, and they think they can get him. They
in a year.
Yeah, that is what is believed, that they think that he will fancy a go at international football, particularly in a US World Cup, and that England would be his natural choice because he's not going to manage Spain. So England really believe that they can get Pep. Don't know what you think about that, Martin.
I was more alluding to if they can get, if they can get Pep, and that is something that's going on in the background, fair enough. But I don't think it's going to instill this, the Barcelona team, the City team. I don't think we're going to get that at international level. I don't think you ever can. I think you've got to be a little bit more Southgate-like to get some results and to get some success, which we've seen. Not that I think Southgate should have carried on. I think his time had run. I think he was well done, and we need someone a little bit more adventurous, but maybe not in the same way that people expect Pep to come in and do this job. And I do think it's shown a bit of a lack of preparedness from the FA, that they haven't got, knowing what they would have known, that Southgate was probably going to go either way if we'd have won the Euros or not, that they haven't had other people lined up and conversations with. I think Eddie Howe would have been my first choice. I would have been fine with Potter and maybe Carsley coming in underneath him, being involved with the setup if that's the route they wanted to go on, and show some form of promotion and prove that St George's Park is a working project. But it's England we're talking about, and we need the best people for the job. And I don't think a guy with zero senior managerial experience is the way to go.
I think international football, it's rarely the best manager available, is it? It's never. They don't tend to attract the best in the world. That's sort of still dominated by club football, and I think it's more of a. If this Pep thing has some truth to it, and let's take. I admittedly I've not heard that, but that doesn't mean to say that it's not true. If that is on the cards, the interim makes sense, because you think if you can have this, it's a bit of a once in a lifetime shot, isn't it? To get Pep in that at the right moment, he's achieved all he's ever going to achieve in England, well, at club level. Do you just go for it? Do you just go balls out and think, fuck it, let's get the best manager on the planet? So that in that way, it makes a bit of sense. Other than that, if that doesn't end up materialising, I think they've kind of stuck to what I think they would have always done had kept the Pep wild card not been there. But you stay within the system, stay with a proven entity in their current structure, rather than bringing in like a Tuchel, for example, which I think would win as a tournament, but would certainly be very much an outside. I think he's a brilliant manager, but I think he'd be very much an outside choice.
All right, Liam, anything more to add on Pep or anything in England setup?
No, not really. Not really. It'll just be interesting to see how Carsley gets on in these games, starting with Ireland away in the Nations League, a game that will be a pressure game, even though that is Nation League. That is not often that England will travel away to Dublin in a competitive fixture. So that is quite a tasty opening game. So yeah,
that'll be fun.
See how they get on.
Right, let's move on to the Premier League. The big guns are back. Let's start with the title race. I think every supercomputer in the land is predicting 5 in a row for Man City. Do you boys agree? Do you think is it nailed on so far?
I think so. There was a bit of a period where it looked like Edison may have been leaving, and maybe De Bruyne was off as well. Yeah. I think if they'd lost players like that, would they maybe, especially if you're Arsenal in the Arsenal camp, you'd be looking at that thinking, fucking hell, they've just lost De Bruyne. That would then give you a bit of extra spark, and then they were, naturally losing 2 of the best players in the league. I think if they're retaining those, they're not really adding a great deal from what I can see, and they have just lost Alvarez, so I don't know if that's going to, they've just got a big chunk of money from Atletico on the back of that. So whether that then leads to another second signing of some kind, I'm not sure, but yeah, I can't see past them. I don't think Arsenal strengthened enough. I don't think City have got weaker enough for that gap to be bridged. I know it wasn't an enormous gap, but it is as we talk about fine margins, isn't it, at that level? And can Arsenal do it again and play to the level that they did last year? I still think City are going to run away. Not run away with it, but I think City will take it. I'm not sure if you agree, Liam.
Good question, Scott. It is good. I do think this might be the year they run out of steam. I do think that. I do think this is Arsenal's season. I think Arsenal have hit really good levels for 2 or 3 years now. I just think it's not that even 4 to 5-0. I just think that team is another year older, and I don't see too much change and evolution in it as much either. I think, yes, they've lost Alvarez, and they've got Savio in from Girona. So I don't see too much evolution there either. And if you're staying still, you're going backwards really. So I do think there is an opportunity this season for Arsenal if they can maintain those levels. And that's a very good point to raise, Scott, because it's not easy. Like, they've been playing very well for a very long time, but they are a younger, fresher squad, and they're hungrier because they've not done it yet, whereas City have consistently done it. So that hunger, particularly if they go behind early doors, may not necessarily be there, especially if things off the pitch start to materialise and noises start coming about who's going to be there next year, because that did happen when they were briefly kicked out of the Champions League. Even though they were reinstated, there were a lot of noises about who wanted to leave. I think some people were very much briefing their agents that they wanted to go. So I do think there is an opportunity for Arsenal this season. I don't think anyone else is coming to the table this year. I'd be interested to see how Liverpool get on with Slot, but we'll talk about them more in a bit, I think. But I don't think anyone else is in the title race. Martin, is it your year?
I mean, yeah, but that answer is valid for the last 3 seasons as well, so it doesn't really hold much weight. But yeah, all your points are true. I think I don't think City will add anything. They may replace Alvarez, but it'll only be with another backup striker. And I think there is legs in Arsenal's transfer market yet. So we'll see before the end of the window at the end of this month whether we do get someone in. There's links of Kingsley Coman on loan, which could be good, having a winger back up to Saka, but I don't know if someone like Coman at 28 is going to want playing time.
He's not playing back up.
Yeah.
He's not playing back up.
And I don't know if you bring him in. I don't know if he's good enough. He may be an improvement in some people's opinion on Martinelli or Trossard, but it's not. I don't know. There's not loads in it, and you're coming out someone with 0 Premier League experience and who's struggled with injuries for the last couple of years. So that's not something that gets me super excited. I'm still holding my hopes out on a striker, and it seems like Edu and Arteta have got the backing behind them to go and get whoever they want. So I think we'll just see when a few of the other dominoes start to fall in the transfer market who we end up with, or if we can push something out of the way. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Arsenal, because I've been a tad underwhelmed with how you've moved in the market, just because I think a little bit like last year, sort of did half of the window right and half of the window really fucking bizarre. So it's like that was maybe an opportunity, but then, to Liam's point, a bit of an aging City squad who's achieved everything. How do you motivate them to go again? I mean, Pep seems to find a way somehow, but 5 in a row would be, remarkable. But from your perspective, you've added Calafiore, decent, but hopefully it's not Euro goggles as far as you're concerned, but hopefully you can replicate it. Are you, as an Arsenal fan, thinking, right, this could be the one? This is the time where we could really go for the throw. Are you happy with the way Arsenal have moved so far?
I'm happy we haven't lost anyone significant, that we haven't had, say, Real Madrid turn their eye at Saliba or Odegaard, or, there's no rumours about Saka and stuff, and we're keeping our best players are the ones, and even some of the what you would call maybe fringe players. If one of you are writing our starting 11 down, maybe you don't put Thomas Partey and Jesus in there, but if they go, and Zinchenko, which were all sort of valid rumours throughout the summer, the squad becomes a lot different. You end up replacing them with new players and a lot of new faces. So I'm happy we've kept a real big spine of the squad together, and we only need to add certain bits. There's still some movements to come. It looks like Mikel Merino is going to come in from Real Sociedad. I think, as far as I can see from all sources, that's as done as done. They're just sort of waiting on some bonus payments that Sociedad or him. But so that will bolster the midfield. I'm not sure what to expect from him, but it's a good, experienced player who will probably fit into our way of playing. So I think a striker's the one. A striker or an extra winger, because then you put Jesus into another box and Havertz, and you can move things around a bit. I think an attacker, just in general, is what we'll need. How that looks, whether it's someone like Coleman on loan, doesn't really get me excited, but maybe an Osimhen or Gyökeres coming in would be, a real big. It would really turn some heads. So I'm excited though. Confident, meh. Confidence is a 5 out of 10, but I'm happy, and it's just see how it plays out. You can never say confident with this City team on your back, and everyone's in their shadow, so you just got to do what you can. Let's talk about, for a second, the chasing pack. So Liam, you mentioned Liverpool. Let's put them in maybe the most likely out of everyone else to finish in the top 4. Probably agree with that.
Yeah, I think that's hard to argue with.
Yeah, and so I'm interested in Liverpool. They beat us in pre-season, and the first half that they played was really good. It was really impressive. But that's fast. They look fresh. They look fresher than us. I think they'd had one more game at this point, but whatever slot ball is going to turn out to look like. I just think with a new manager, he run the risk of running out of legs and steam a little bit. They might get off to a good start. I anticipate that, but the Premier League is a different beast in itself. So I don't know what to expect from Liverpool, but I feel that they will be up there, and they'd be my shout for 3rd. I don't think that's crazy to suggest. But so let's say we all agree with that. The rest of them are all fighting for 4th. We'll include your boys in this, Scott. We'll get onto the catalogue of footballers that are now wearing the Chelsea blue. But Liam, who else is in with a shout? We could talk about Man United as well in a minute, because they're stinking out of the place. I'm sick of hearing about them. Spurs, Newcastle, Villa. I'm trying to think if anyone else is going to be in and around it. What do you reckon?
Don't know about others.
Can't see anyone.
But the two most interesting ones, I think, are Villa and Spurs, because they're a year further on in each of the projects.
Yeah.
It'd be very interesting to see, particularly how Villa cope with balancing Champions League football. They've been a bit strange in the transfer market as well. They've not necessarily gone as big as people may have thought with that qualification. They're sort of sticking to the idea of players that can really be moulded by Unai Emery. So it'd be very interesting to see if they can replicate this season, because particularly their home form was unbelievably good at the beginning of last season. They really built a season off the back of that. So we'll see about that. In terms of Spurs, on
Villa, I think Matson's a good signing for them. I think he really fits a good gap. If Emery does play him at left back and he can be inverted and whatever, I think that's a good sign. I think Onana is the other big signing for them, and that'll be interesting with they picked up Ross Barkley, so they'll be interesting. They're going to have a bigger squad, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, really see how they get on. But Spurs as well, just jumping on them. Second season of Ange Ball. They had a successful season, Tottenham, but they did it the wrong way around for vibes, didn't they? Because
big time.
If you start well and finish sort of poorly, it feels like you've kind of had a bad season. But I think they finished 5th last year, and I think every Spurs fan would have snapped your hand off for 5th at the start of the season.
Yeah, definitely.
Harry Kane. So they've made some interesting signings again. Solanke for quite some serious money.
Big money, that, isn't it?
Yeah,
what do you think of that?
65 million quid for a guy let's be real, he's had one one good championship season and one good Premier League season in his career, and he's 26, so he's not exactly getting on, but
Is that the going rate for
I think
that though?
yeah. I mean,
It probably is.
that's just it's more a reflection on the market than Spurs or anyone negotiating that deal. It's a bit of you're sort of playing by a very fucking bizarre rule book. But
Yeah, it's a
I
cliche,
don't know
isn't
about you.
it?
I think
It's the classic cliche: goals cost money. If you're buying proven Premier League goals, and I think in a good team, he's proven that he can score goals now because they were that Bournemouth team in the second half of the season was very good. And
Yeah, they were.
Bournemouth a little bit more. Well, maybe not because they're probably mid-table, so we'll probably skip them. But if you're listening, Bournemouth fans, that's a good thing in a way because we're not going to say you're going to go down.
You're not in danger.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. I think he'll do well, to be honest. But I do think it seems an extortionate amount of money. But I think Watkins would be similar money. I think Ivan Toney, we talked about nearly 100 million a year ago, and we were all saying Arsenal and United should get him. So maybe it is the going rate. Maybe it just feels because of the issues Solanke's had in terms of nailing down a starting place at bigger clubs. It just doesn't feel right. But he's in the prime of his career now, so it's probably good money.
And then the other one out of them three was Newcastle, who don't have European football.
Well, they've got a lot of issues, haven't they? Because they've run right up to the line in terms of spending.
Yeah.
And they can't do anything. And it looks like heads have rollen over the back of that with Stavely leaving the business, pushed rather than asking.
Seems to be, yeah.
It's very much what the rumour is. And they brought in Paul Mitchell to essentially oversee football operations now. So it's very much a change of strategy up there. They're looking still to sell players. So I think Miguel Almiron linked with a move to Charlotte FC today. That would be some transfer if that happens. If they can, the MLS buying a player for the Premier League, that kind of money. So we'll see what happens there. So very much
Trippier seems on his way out, maybe.
Yeah, it just looks like another holding season for them until the PSR rules potentially change in the coming week. But they don't look like they can do it. So I'd be surprised if they're up there. Have we missed anyone, Scott?
Well, let's get on to the other two big stinkers.
Have we missed someone? Who've we missed?
I can't believe we've just spoke about Newcastle, who was shit last year, by the way, and we finished above. And we've anyway.
I put them in the chasing pack. Let's talk about Chelsea.
Let's do it. What a fucking again. Like I said in the group chat, one normal day of Chelsea is all I ask, and we just don't get. I don't know why we do this. And so since we last spoke, we signed, and this is not a slight on Chelsea, by the way, this is fucking bravo, well done. Pedro Neto has come in for, I think, about 54 million or 56 million. It's in that region. And that was completely out of nowhere. That was like a transfer back in the day before Fabrizio Romano got a Twitter account. And you just woke up one day and you saw a guy holding your club shirt. And that was it.
It's like bid accepted next day, though.
Yeah, he was there, like presented at Stamford Bridge yesterday. It was wild, and he's a player that I think is fucking brilliant. I think he's really, really good, and I was convinced that he was Arsenal bound. One, because I think that link's been around for quite a while.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I think we bid for him actually, maybe last January or something before he got injured.
Yeah, and he's the sort of player that I think had he not had his injury issues, you'd be looking at a guy who's probably already been at. He would have already been at a City or an Arsenal or a Liverpool or a big club. He's absolutely quality. He can play on either wing. He's still young. He's quick. He's skillful. He can score. He's excellent. So I can't knock the owners one bit for that. It does then. You then start to look at the rest of the squad and wonder. Building a squad at Chelsea is proving to be a very bizarre exercise. I don't really know. I sort of see what they're doing. Like I can see like a framework of like. This is the kind of player that we want. I'm not saying Pedro Neto's a bad addition to the squad, but fucking hell, going on to the next thing I'll talk about. You then potentially the most left field thing I can think of, possibly back in for Joao Felix.
That doesn't seem right at all. You feel like that should have, if it was going to happen, but I think with Felix, he's had his eyes set on Barcelona, and there's a lot of release clause stuff going on with that. Yeah,
I think his wages probably aren't helping that as well. So one thing with Felix that I will say, after his loan finished not last year, the season before, he actually wanted to stay at Chelsea. His preference was to stay there because he liked it. He sort of, there was like a running joke that it might even still, I feel like his Twitter bio still says Chelsea FC player in it, or it did until like fairly recently. So all the fans were like, oh God, he bleeds blue, get him in, he's proper Chelsea and all this shit. And he did genuinely like, I think him and the fans had a bit of an affinity because he came on his debut, played Fulham, absolutely skinned 3 or 4 plays, looked like a world beater, then got sent off for a 2-footer. And it was like, yeah, he's the fucking one. Keep
Welcome
him.
to the Premier League.
Yeah, literally. But I think it was a case that Poch didn't like him, so the owners backed. Everyone else at the club was fairly happy with him, but Poch didn't like him, so they backed the manager. But now that he's not there, and Maresca's allegedly said yes, and it's something that greases the wheels with this Conor Gallagher deal, we may see him back at the Bridge, which I've kind of seen what he's about, and I don't know if I was all that impressed. But that was Graham Potter days.
I
So
was going to say, Scott, Poch isn't the only manager not really to like Joao Felix. That's
very
been
true.
a feature of his career, really, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's Simeone didn't really warm. I don't know if they fell out or if he liked him once and then didn't, because he was at Atletico for a few years without major issue from what I saw. I didn't really see how he did at Barca last year. I don't know if them not signing him was like a money thing because Barca, are, perennially skint as we've seen. Or they signed Danny Olmo for 60 million and can't register him until they sell someone. They're a bigger fucking mess than we are. So I do think there's an element of him where I'm a bit like, I don't really know what you are and what you're supposed to do, and I don't know if you do anything that you can do. I think we've already got people who can do it better. Like we've got Palmer, we've got Nkunku, even Neto. I don't know if he makes us any better. So it's a bizarre one. But yeah, yet again, it's been another week of a mess. And they were apparently back for Osman, where we'd sort of stepped away from that. Now this other deal's fallen through with Atletico for, I'm hearing failed medical. I'm hearing we wanted to have all of his image rights, and he said no. I don't know what the fuck's gone on. It's a circus.
Are you
But that's apparently opened the door again.
Are we expecting a deadline day fire sale from Chelsea? Because I mean, the running joke is the amount of players that you've got. You've got 45 first team players at the moment, and I know there's when it comes to registration, there's an age thing as well, and you can class people's academy and whatever. So you're probably not at risk. I don't know if you are at risk of not being able to register half of these players, or some of them being dropped out anyway. But like, I know you've already chucked out Chalabar and Brozier, and I think someone else have been flogged off to the under 21s or something. So, I mean, it all stinks of a bit of mismanagement somewhere. But are we expecting a big fire sale at the end of the summer?
I think you're going to see between now and the end of the window a lot of movement outgoings. So if there's talk that if Felix comes in, Sterling is going to go. Who signs him on his wages? I have no idea. Apparently, Juventus are keen, but can't see them paying what Sterling would want to be paid. Could see him wanting to go there, but he'd want the money to be right. I've heard that Madueke is potentially on, if we get the right fee for him, maybe.
So Newcastle
I wouldn't be mad
him.
at. Yeah, if it's good money, then fine. If it's not a great deal for us, I'd rather see how he goes because he's actually had a good preseason. He's looked good in this system, so I wouldn't mind seeing that. But yeah, I think you're going to see a lot. I think we've already sold somebody to Strasbourg today. One of these players who signed as a bit of a youth project. There's like a buyback in it, so if he turns out all right, we'll take him back.
It's not even worth learning the names of half of these players.
Yeah, there's no point in me even saying you won't know who they are anyway.
Just
this goes back to
just for people that don't know, Strasbourg are a affinity club, aren't they, with Chelsea?
They are part of Blueco. They are part of the Blueco group. So they are they're a feeder club, let's call it what it is, which I know their fans aren't very happy about. But we seem to be doing okay by them in the sense that we've appointed them a good manager, and we seem to be sending some. I think Petrovic is going to go there on loan, which would be a decent move for them. Be a good move for him and for Strasbourg. And when you can see a lot of French clubs in a lot of, it's probably a good thing that Blueco are backing them because a lot of French clubs are up shit creek at the moment.
Right, Liam.
But yeah.
What are you anticipating Chelsea get up to this season? In fact, and I'll ask both of you this, but I'll start with you, Liam. What's a good season for Chelsea right now?
Well, I don't want to preempt our predictions
Or
episode.
what doesn't get Maresca sacked? Is probably another way of putting it.
I would say probably matching Pochettino's finish. I think that would be the minimum, I would say. Because essentially they're ripping up a plan to start a new plan. And I think they probably know that, to be honest. I think they get a lot of stake, Chelsea's ownership, and, fair enough, some of it's been ridiculous. But I do think the original plan was to stick with Poch for a long time. It's just they didn't get on. Like they just didn't get on, Poch and the owners. And I think in different circumstances they probably would have kept with Poch because he started to turn things around. So I think the minimum Chelsea will want from Maresca is 6th, but they will want to see a certain way of playing. Scott's desperate to come in, but I'm going to ask you first, Martin, because we've heard a lot of Scott for the last few minutes. So what do you think?
I agree. 6th. If you offered Scott 6th now and he didn't snap your hand off, I'd be shocked. No, I think 4th is achievable, especially this season. And you never know. You saw the run of games that they put together at the end of last season. That is doable as well. You never know how this season's going to pan out. So, yeah, if I was a Chelsea fan going into this season, I'd be happy with 6th in European football again. But 4th may be there for the taking.
Yeah. There's a lot to unpack there. First of all, I'm going to disagree with Liam on Poch. I think Poch was what they saw as a safe, pragmatic move after Graham Potter burned them a bit. I think Potter was an uninformed, knee-jerk move after they sacked Tuchel, and they didn't have any directors, any sporting people in at that point. It was just owners and vibes, and that's where I think Graham Potter came from. Came around that they had to make another appointment a lot sooner than they probably wanted to. He went for a safe option, what they saw in Poch, and I think Maresca's the first one that actually fits a model of what they want to do. I think he's the first. I think he's probably weirdly the biggest appointment that they've made so far. So I think they're investing a lot of money and a lot of not just in him and his contract. I mean, more so it even affects. You saw Liam Rossini go to Strasbourg. That's because he's in a similar vein to what Maresca. So they want that structure across the whole of the group. So I think is a massive appointment in terms of what we could do. We were only 6 points off 4th last year. Granted, like it happens in a few seasons, it was like nobody wants to have this 4th, and everyone just keeps fucking losing games until we get to the end, and it's the least shit gets it kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we weren't that far away. A couple of really dumb results really could have go the other way, and we could have seen 4th. I think,
but that's just become so typical of Chelsea, like last season and maybe the last 2 years, really.
Yeah, it's tricky because let's say, for example, if we get Osimhen, best case scenario,
That's
think
a
that
game
changes
changer, isn't it? Yeah.
Massive, because I think it has to then change your expectation, because you've then got what most would probably agree on paper is the second best striker in the league and one of the best in Europe behind Haaland.
Yeah.
So you then have to then adjust your expectation on the back of it. But based on what I know of right now, I'd be inclined to agree. I would want to see a cup win. I don't see any reason why the Conference League isn't a fairly straightforward trophy to win, given the opposition that we're going to come up against. And we've proven last year we got to 2 cup finals. So we should then be able to press on with that and bring something home. And so a decent league finish, at least 6th, and a trophy.
Yeah, I didn't mention this about Arsenal, but yeah, I think a trophy is vital for us this season, by the way.
Yeah, big time.
We're just going back on Arsenal for a few minutes, but we're well into the Arteta project with only that initial FA Cup to show, but that wasn't really his team, his stamp or anything. So I think we will see a greater effort in the league and the FA Cup this season. Don't know what to expect in the Champions League with this new format. It's going to be weird. So trophy is really important. Hopefully it's a big one, but we'll see. Liam, Manchester United. everyone's
Big
favourite
voice.
talking point. The world's biggest football club, we hear very often. Started off the transfer window quite promising with Xerxes coming in, and then they beat off a lot of competition for Lenny Yoro, who is now injured, by the way, for the foreseeable. And it looks like by the time this goes out, they may have got Delict and Mazraoui over the line. Where are they? Where are Man United? Just fill us in, give us a lowdown, and then what you expect from them.
The truth is, it really does depend who you ask and what their motivations are. Man United is in a very funny place at the moment because at the back end of last season, after the FA Cup win, they were quite bullishly talking about the fact that injuries have curtailed quite what could have been quite a strong season for them. But if you do speak to a Man United fan about this season, it's almost like they don't really want to talk about it, other than you're disrespecting Ten Hag by potentially criticising him. He's, there's a media agenda against Ten Hag is the latest that I'm seeing, in the sense that you're not allowed to ever predict or think of what Man United may or may not do because you're just being anti-United, unfortunately. In terms of what's actually going on there, I wish someone would tell me, because Ten Hag's saying that these signings got nothing to do with him. Yet, you can almost, like, the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, bring them all back to Ten Hag's Ajax team.
No, we're running out of numbers in Ten Hag's phone book here for Ajax players.
It's staggering, really, that they've pulled these 2 transfers off in the last couple of days to continue that. So we'll see. I think they should be really top 4, because they finished 8th last season, Man United, didn't they? Was it 8th?
Yeah.
I mean
it was a terrible season.
That is unacceptable.
Well, everyone's surprised that Ten Hag's still in a job. Let's be real here. No,
that is unacceptable for Man United. That is a complete and utter failure. You can win cups by accident. Let's be completely
exactly
honest.
What happened.
They won a cup by accident. They were on the verge of elimination against Coventry City. It was the smallest VAR thing that got them through that game. They conceded in the 120th minute against fucking Coventry. Like, they did not, like, they can talk about winning the FA Cup, and yes, the history books will say that they did, but it was not some triumphant canter to Wembley to take their well-earned prize. Basically, Ten Hag had to defend himself while wearing the winner's medal around his neck. It was a shambles of a season, and they need to be top 4. Season.
Like I was going to say, he isn't out of a job, and they have backed him. He has been backed by Ineos and Ratcliffe and the whole new team behind him, with Van Nistelrooy coming in and whoever else. He has been backed. This is now a massive Ten Hag stamp on this club.
He's almost distancing himself from that, though, when he talks about it. It's like, well, these aren't my... He's almost distancing himself from the fact that he's been backed. To me, it's just a mess. Like, they need someone far more, like, charismatic, far more media savvy. That is a difficult job. You can't just be a good coach, and he may be a good coach. I've yet to see it, because I've not seen one player go in there and get better, by the way. In the whole time Ten Hag's been there, players have only regressed. None of them actually got any better. Garnacho maybe aside, but he would get better anyway. So there's no one improving there. So I'm not to see this good coach, but you need to be better than that to succeed at United, because it's such a big job. You're almost a political figure. You're in charge of such a huge club. So they need to be top 4, or it's a failure. But I'd be shocked if they do it.
Yeah, I can't see it. And I think it's funny, like you said, that his distancing. It's like because sometimes you can see a club making moves that are clearly for the next guy who's coming in. Like, you're bringing in some players, and it's with a view that, okay, even if Ten Hag's not the one here, they're for the next one. But if anybody else inherits this team, it's got his fucking fingerprints all over it. Literally, almost everybody in that team has played for him before at a previous club. It's weird. It's very, very strange the way that they've built this team, particularly if, like a lot of us think, the FA Cup papered over some cracks and they thought, fuck it, we'll give him a few games and then we'll replace him with Southgate Like, what would be the point in that when you've just invested what? Must be £250 million now just this year alone on players.
Getting up there.
Madness.
I mean, yeah.
Madness.
I'm not sure of the finances, but yeah, it's he's had the backing. He's had the backing from the board in terms of his staff and his team and the people on the pitch. What else about Man United? I mean, we keep hearing Ratcliffe in the news, and there's always stuff about the stadium. I mean, is there still bigger things to address, or do you think you just need to concentrate on the pitch for now?
That stadium thing the other day, by the way, was a farce. That it got, well, it didn't get fun. It didn't get approved because public funding wasn't strong enough or something. I can't remember. Like the fact that we couldn't get enough taxpayer money involved, so we will not rebuild Old Trafford. That's the most ridiculous fucking thing I've ever heard of in my life.
Well, I'm glad my taxes won't be going anywhere near that stadium. It's not to do with me.
And what grounds, by the way? Like you can't just have a stadium built for you because you need one. Like that's public money, and this idea of a Wembley in the north, that stuff should go up for tender. Like Newcastle should be able to apply for that. Liverpool should be able to apply for that. Anyone, you can't just give it to Man United because they happen to want to build a stadium now. And as well, look at their own fucking stadium as it is now. Why should be trusted with taxpayers' money when the stadium's falling apart? Exactly. I don't think they should be trusted with it. I think they've had the chance. The ownership model is 60% at least still the same. So it's still the same owners on paper. So no.
So Scott, do Man United get fourth? Are they the ones who back this up? Likelihood? No, not speaking from your heart. And Chelsea get it. Are they? Would you say they are favourites to get fourth?
No, absolutely not. I actually think in terms other than the title, and Arsenal probably are the most established to be second. The rest of it's totally open. I think what you said earlier about Liverpool being third, I don't think that's nailed on either. To be honest, I think it's the first time we've not had Klopp in such a long time. A massive unknown. I mean, he's still probably got the most established squad, first 11 out of the rest of them.
Yeah,
who are used to playing together. I think it's so open. I think literally anybody could, like Chelsea could come third, or we could come 10th. And I think Villa have somehow got worse. They got Champions League and got worse. Their squad is a lot. I think they've lost a massive player in Douglas Luiz. So I genuinely don't know. I would have said Villa would probably push on again had they not lost the players they had, but I genuinely don't know. I'm going to struggle on our predictions because I think it's so open. I don't think it'll be Man United though. We're fairly safe in thinking it's not United for fourth.
Liam, last point on Liverpool. Do you think it's weird that Arne Slot's not been backed in the transfer market yet? Am I missing someone that they've bought? I don't feel like they've
not brought anyone in yet.
No, I don't think Slot is the man who would be backed in the transfer market with the way Liverpool's set up. I think that would be Edwards, and I think he's very much running the transfer show. And I think Slot's coming knowing that would be my guess. It's similar to Klopp. I think Klopp really worked on that basis. I think Klopp...
He struggled for a while, didn't he, Klopp?
Yeah, and I think that they may be a season of having a look at what we've got, to be honest. Well, I think Edwards has only been back a few months. I don't think his long-term target... He's too busy focusing on Bolton, signing left-backs for us. So I don't think it's as simple as that, basically. I think they're quite happy with the starting 11 and probably looking at how do we replace Salah. Is Diaz up to it for Premier League every week? They're probably looking at these questions longer term. How do we replace Van Dijk? They've probably got these questions and they've probably got a year to think about it, would be my guess.
Right. Well, it's a lot of interesting points. Let's turn our attention to the bottom of the league. Or, you never know, but the teams who've come up, Southampton, Ipswich, and the other one that I'm forgetting right now. Who am I forgetting here? Leicester, obviously, though. Leicester have got... why is his name gone from me now? This is not good.
Steve Cooper.
Steve Cooper. I wanted to say Steve Coppell, and I knew it wasn't him.
No, Steve Coppell.
Steve Cooper. But they're looking to go again after a good season. they had the biggest and best squad in the Championship, so they were rightly so favourites to go up, and they did. Ipswich, I think, are the ones interesting people the most, and have spent a bit of money as well. They've gone for it in a little bit of the same fashion that Forest did, not to the crazy extents, where they've kept. When Forest came up, if you remember, they went on that crazy mad spree, but they did keep Steve Cooper when he came up, and he was the driving force that kept them up. Do you think that's? I mean, would you say all these clubs would snap your hand off for 17th right now?
Of course they would. I think Ipswich is an interesting one, and I do think they had to do this because essentially some of those players are players that were very much part of their League One winning campaign, which was an extraordinary team, and they were well better than everyone in League One that year. I saw a lot of them that year, but they did need to make improvements. But we talk about backing managers. Obviously, Kieran McKenna is definitely one that Ipswich would look to back, and yeah, they're making a real fist of it. They're signing very strong Championship level, lower Premier League level players to come into that team and make a real difference. And at depth, they've not lost a lot of players either. They're not done yet either in terms of it. I believe with the player we were talking about quite a bit in our group chat during the week, Sammy Smodic at Blackburn, he's now linked with Ipswich. They're the team that are sniffing around him. And he's not young either at 28, but I don't know how much you saw at Smodic last season. He will get you goals if you give him the chance.
I heard his name a lot and decided not to try and pronounce it myself. But yeah, they've kept hold of Amari Hutchinson, Liam Delap. They've got him from City. Who I know he'd made a few first team appearances for them. But I think keeping Kieran McKenna is probably maybe their biggest signing. Scott, do you agree with that? I mean, I know he was linked with a few spots even in Chelsea.
Yeah, he was. He's extremely well thought of by a lot of big clubs. And I think had he been manager of a slightly sexier club prior, he may have been landed with a big job. So yeah, I think he's going to keep a good group together. Bringing back Hutchison's, I think, is a massive move because he was class for them last year. He was very, very good. And I was kind of hoping we'd just loan him back to them and see how we got on.
Yeah.
But the deal was good for us. It cost us nothing. We've made a fortune out of him.
Why get Hutchinson back when you can buy another 4 wingers for 50 million a pop?
Yeah, exactly. Pedro Neto for 60. Bloody bargain.
Which of the 3 who've come up would both of you say is most likely to stay up?
I don't know. I'd like to say Southampton, but I think they haven't moved great in the market just yet. Bought Ben Brereton Diaz in, who got a move to Villarreal because he got his last name as Diaz. If he was still Ben Brereton at Blackburn, he would not have gone to La Liga, as they call it for what it is.
You just need goals, don't you? And I don't think they've got even Adam Armstrong. Adam Armstrong's one of the worst players I've ever seen in a Bolton shirt, by the way, when he had his time on
dreadful.
Loan. Absolutely awful. But he got a good amount of goals last season, but almost like he had his Solanke season. He's
Che Adams has gone to Italy as well, hasn't he? So
he has, yeah.
Yeah, Che Adams has gone. That's an interesting move. Southampton play in a very interesting way. You're talking a complete footballing side here, and I think if we're going to make comparisons to anyone, someone who we've mentioned quite a bit on our Twitter or /X in the last 24 hours is Vincent Kompany's Burnley.
Yeah,
there's a lot of comparisons there. I think with Russell Martin, Southampton, but I do like Russell Martin as a manager. I think he's a very, very good manager, but we'll see what they do. I think the one with the biggest chance of staying up, in my opinion, is Ipswich. I think they've got a team
I agree with that.
and a plan of playing that isn't fully based on being the dominant side, which Southampton's is. I think Leicester will go down. I think they're in trouble. I think their PSR problems are going to bite them. They're really struggling in terms of.
Well, aren't they? I've heard, and I've not heard anything concrete, but they're at risk of starting the season on minus points. There's already talk of a points deduction for them this season.
This was rumoured. I've not seen anything recently about this, but it was rumoured halfway through last season. I saw. But they are struggling on that front, and I think it says a lot that a club the size of Leicester, with Leicester's training facilities, Leicester's stadium, Leicester's history, the manager they went for was Steve Cooper. I think that says a lot because they could attract. If Leicester was on a secure footing in the Premier League, or thought they were going to be, I think they could have their pick on any manager except the ones maybe in the top tier.
They could have gone for a Poch, I think.
They've got ridiculous facilities and things like that. But I think there's a reason they've gone for Cooper in the same way another team we'll probably talk about, Everton, went with Dyche at the time because they know what they're signing up for. I think Leicester will go down.
Signings that any of them have made. The only one I like Amari Hutchinson. I think he can be the main man for Ipswich. If they're given any good chance this season, he's got to have a blinder. I like Taylor Howard-Bellis at Southampton. I think he's a good signing. I just think he's going to be really busy because they're not going to get enough done up front. And in my opinion, they're most likely to go straight back down because of what you've said about how they're likened to Burnley. I don't think they have, unless of some miracle of God that Adam Armstrong can find this championship form in the Premier League. I think they're going to really struggle, and you need someone to get you some goals or everyone to chip in. So we spoke about the chasing pack for the top four. I don't really know what to call the chasing pack for the ones who were going down, the pack fighting.
The escaping pack.
Yeah. Teams who you both think may be in real danger this season. Scott, I'll start with you.
I'm going to say Brentford. Think because they're going to have Ivan Toney back this year. It doesn't look like he's going to get the big move that everyone anticipated that he would get, unless Saudi club maybe tables something absolutely outrageous that he doesn't want to turn down. But I think they looked really shaky last season at points. And I think this could be a year where if they don't add anything significant to improve, which I don't think that they have, I feel like Brentford could be in trouble.
They got in a striker, I think. The guy from Bruges, I think, spent about 35 million on him. But yeah, he's going to be. He's an unproven commodity at the moment, so that's going to be one that's up in the air a little bit. And we know how he plays with Wissa's still there, I believe, and obviously Tony. So yeah, that's Brentford are a good shout. They've been in a sort of free fall since that incoming season.
Well, that guy that they brought in from Bruges, I think he's already out for the season. Well, he suffered quite a bad injury in one of the pre-season games. It may not have been season-ending. I did see that he did pick up a bad injury in pre-season, and I don't know. Well, it's a late 2024 doing live research, which I know we're not allowed to do, but I've just done it. So you think of a team like Brentford who, gets to Christmas, if they're in that dogfight and they're only just then getting their big signing, damage could already been done.
Liam, anyone else?
Yeah, there's two that stick in my mind. Firstly, Nottingham Forest.
Yeah.
I just don't believe in Nuno Espirito Santos as a manager at all. I don't believe he's a talented manager, and I believe that is a squad with no real fluidity and no. Yeah, I think they'll go down. I don't think they're in trouble. I'd be surprised if Nottingham Forest stay up, to be completely honest. And they're another club teetering around the boundaries of PSR already. Had a deduction in the past.
Oh, we've heard about that plenty, haven't we?
Yes. Nottingham Forest fans do like to talk about the injustice of the world of spending 700 million when they first come up. Anyway, but they needed players. We know that. They needed players.
Whilst I agree that I think they're in real danger this season, I do think, providing they keep hold of Morgan Gibbs-White, they do have goals in the team. They still got Alanga was chipping in with a few. Hudson-Odoi came in and did well. So I think they're
goals per touches, whatever it was that he had last year. That weird stat that
Chris Wood is a massive stiff idiot. Clip that. He's fucking dog shit him.
You can clip that and put that on your own thing for Nottingham Forest fans. So I've had enough of them over the last few weeks.
No, the less he's in the side, the better for them. He's coming on.
You didn't let me get to my other club, by the way. Before we.
Sorry, please go on.
Fulham. I don't like the business. I don't like the business.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't see the plan. I feel like they've lost Paulinho, who was an absolute brick wall for them defensively. Yeah. they've lost your mate, the centre back, Scott, you signed.
Aradibo, Tosin.
Tosin.
Tosin. So, and for me, the players that they're bringing in, they don't have the same bite. I'm not seeing a team that can fight at the bottom of the league.
True.
And they've got a manager there who I think is all great when things are going well, but he kind of goes to pieces when things are going bad in Silva. So I'm not convinced by Fulham. I think they could be in a bit of trouble for me.
Interesting.
And as well, the goals, they relied on your man's up front goals last season a little bit. I don't think he's got it in him the second time. That's terrible.
Muniz.
That was terrible knowledge. Yeah.
Your man.
I think they got away with losing Mitrovic, I think, is basically my point last season.
Yeah,
they tried to cover him with a few signs, didn't they? Is it Rodrigo Muniz who came in, and they got Carlos Vinicius. I think he was only on loan. I'm not sure if he was bad.
He was terrible.
They've had Smith Rowe come in. I can't think. They've had Sessegnon re-sign, who I think is a good signing for them. I don't think Fulham will be in danger because I think they'll be
propped up by the aura of Emil Smith Rowe. Will be able to.
The aura of Emil Smith Rowe will prevail
and guide them away from danger. Yeah, fair enough. Forgot about him. Sorry. How dare I say Fulham?
Emil Smith Rowe has a saviour complex, and he's a hero of any story. No, what I was going to say before I was rudely interrupted was that I think there'll be 3 teams worse than them, at least. So 15th, and to be honest, anywhere between 15th and 9th is a fine. It's a perfectly acceptable season for Fulham.
Yeah, I agree.
None of us mentioned Everton. Is that just a perennial? They're always going to be in a dogfight.
Probably, yeah. I heard similar things that they could be in for another point deduction as well this year. I don't know how true that is. I don't know.
I think it's more dangerous than that, isn't it? I think it's not actually points deductions. I think it's a genuine cash issue towards the end of the year.
Is it?
A few people made noises about it. I think for everyone that says it's a problem, there's another person that says it isn't a problem. So I think that's do you know what I mean? I think we'll just wait and see with the money at Everton. But I think we all know the job that Sean Dyche can do. And I think that is key to it. But they have lost some good players, like Onana. Have they signed Jack Harrison back at right midfield?
I'm not sure yet if that's happened.
So they managed to hold Braithwaite by looks things. They're keeping all the Braithwaite, which is good because they may need a sellable asset halfway through the year.
Yeah.
So I think they'll be okay because of the manager they've got, and they've got a way of playing under him. The 2 years into him now, they all know the jobs. I'd be surprised if they go down with Dyche.
Right. So we've covered it all. And then everyone who we've not mentioned, well done. You've made mid-table. You are not in any danger. Bournemouth, Palace. I can't think who else got away with it then. A few of them.
Wolves,
yeah.
Weirdly, yeah, because they really struggle with goals and have for years. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them. I mean, they just had a massive cash injection from us now, so it'll be interesting to see what they do with that. But,
And they got a good manager.
It's Gary O'Neill, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, he could see them right, and they've still got a couple of decent players there.
Right. Let's just give out overriding predictions. If you think anything's going to come up this season, anything likely on the horizon that would be worth a mention that could affect anyone's predictions, should I say?
Well, I do think there is the potential of some issues for one of the teams at the top of the league off the field this season.
Well, what I was going to say is if you don't take a genius to go on any bookmaker's website and look at the relegation odds, and Arsenal and Liverpool are on 2,500 to 1 to go down, while Man City are about 12 to 1 to go down. So the bookmakers aren't taking any chances. Really? Yes, they are. If you go on any, the bookmakers aren't taking any chances. So we're in stuff amazing. About the hearing. It's always due to take place in like October time. Liam, what does this spell out for the league and this going on? Is for a start, do you think it'll affect them on the pitch? And what sort of stuff can you see happening in and around all that
Do you
club?
know, it's really hard to say whether it'll affect them on the pitch because I think this is going to be like nothing else we've seen in terms of off-field drama.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
because so many people have waited for this, and including Man City to an extent. Man City have kind of wanted this to happen sooner.
You can see the Netflix documentary already for this. I can't wait.
It's I don't know because how can you know if it's going to affect them on the pitch? In terms of what might happen, I mean, everything's on the table, isn't it? I mean, we'll probably do an episode on this, I think, in the build-up to it. I think now there's the time to do it. We've talked about it in the past quite a lot. I think there is the time to do it. But in terms of how it'll affect this season, I think everything's up for grabs, isn't it?
Scott?
I mean, I'm slightly concerned now because I couldn't quite believe what you said about the odds. So I've just looked again, and Chelsea are also 18-1 to go down. Whereas, according to the bookmakers, we are as likely to win the league. We're also 18-1 to win it as we are to go down. We're somehow fourth favourites to win the league, and the same odds to get relegated. I don't quite know how the math works on that, but yeah. So not good news for us.
Probably a loss, is there?
Yeah, it could be like just spinning off what you guys were saying. It could be massive, not just for the immediate or any future implications, because that's going to set a precedent for any other teams who are moving a bit mad and doing things in a bit of a smoke and mirrors, cloak and dagger kind of way. So it's hard. I don't really want to say too much on it until more facts come out, but it could be a big year for it.
I just think whatever happens in and around that week of it starting, and then the whole trial, if you will, however it's going to manifest, is just going to kick up a stink for anyone who gets close to that club in that time. Whether it be a load of Champions League fixtures, I mean, you just never know. That Liam's right. There's nothing off the table here with. It's how widespread the effects of this case could have on football, and they're the big dogs at the table at the moment, and they're right in the shit with this trial. It's big time. This is the O.J. Simpson case of football.
Right in the shit with Katie Price. It's right stuck in there.
Yeah. If anyone needs to know that reference, just type Katie Price into your Twitter feed and see what comes up.
Please don't. Please, good listeners, please don't do that.
Yeah, save yourself. Right, boys, are we missing anything with this league and this Premier League prediction? Are you excited that the Premier League's back?
Extremely. I'm a bit worried about our first game. It's kind of, I'm torn between it's the worst possible start, but it's also a bit of a free hit. And City are notoriously shit at the beginning of a season. So if there's any time to play City historically, earlier the better. I
think shit's pushing it, Scott. But yeah, I agree. They're probably better to play on the first day than the last day.
Yeah, well, they're not great, are they? They often, maybe I'm shit for them. I guess is the more accurate term.
We've got Wolves at 3:00 on Saturday, which I'm absolutely buzzing for. At the Emirates, looking forward to, hopefully there'll be a new face in there by then. We'll see. What else? Liam, your football's already back, but the Premier League coming back, it's got to have some significance for you.
Yeah, I like Premier League football, Martin. Yes. I prefer watching Premier League football than I watch lower league football, not low level football.
Low level is the technical term.
Quite rudely said earlier. I do prefer to watch the Premier League. It is better. I suppose that's why everyone in the world watches it, I suppose. So yeah. I'm looking forward to it, mine, yes.
Right. Well, let's wrap it up there. Summary of this episode. We're all excited about football coming back. Real football. Thank you everyone for listening. Please do not forget to join our Fantasy Premier League league. You can find all the information online. We've got around 200 people in the league now. So please, we want as many people involved as possible. And there will be a prize for the winner or winners. To win that prize, you must be subscribed on YouTube and following us on Instagram or Twitter /X. You can find all that information and any links to any of them things at www.fixingfootballpodcast.com. And please, yes, like I said, please do get involved. Join in any of the conversations. We want to hear as many people's opinion on their teams as possible. So hopefully you can get featured on the podcast and help us grow. And you'll be able to get your views out on your team, because we're just three idiots talking of, one of us talks about Bolton, so he's even more of an idiot. There is another idiot who is AWOL at the moment. The less said about him, the better. We'll just leave it at that. Let's wrap it up there, boys.
Goodbye.
Enjoy your
Bye,
evening.
Martin.
See you, everyone.